Ah, nothing like taking a quick rip through space, eh there, Falco buddy?
I ain't your buddy, go away!
Okay. Slippy, how you feeling, bud?
It's too hot! I can't take it anymore!
Piping, Peppers, Slippy, come in, Slippy. Peppy, do you have any readings on Slippy's vitals?
What?
My God, he's stroking out! Evasive maneuvers!
What?
Scratch one bogey.
You know, I don't think those guys have my best interest at heart. Oh, hey there. You know, Star Fox has been a part of my life ever since I was a child. It was the first game I got on my N64, and I have fond memories of blasting away the armies of Andross. It always had tight controls and epic space battles, and every planet you went to had a different ecosystem that just looked so unique. Yeah, Star Fox was pretty pog. So you can only imagine my excitement when my brother brought home the long-awaited sequel, Starfox Adventures for the Nintendo GameCube. I myself have never beaten it, but I did watch my brothers play it, and the moment that they started this game, I got completely absorbed in its world. However, this game is not what it seems to be. Much to many fans' dismay, this was not the pog Star Fox sequel that they had been anticipating, but in fact, something far more unique. And gamers hate unique. Upon its arrival, Starfox Adventures was a complete success. It sold like 20 million copies or something. People were lining up for Fox McCloud's new adventure set in a Dinosaur Planet? Wait, what about the shooting things? What about the flying and shooting the armies of Andross? What about the
Do a barrel roll!
Mainline Star Fox fans were in such an outrage, and then came the blogs, the reviews, the unsolicited YouTuber opinions. And people started picking this apart and complaining that Star Fox Adventures was such a departure from the Star Fox formula that it was basically defamation to Star Fox. Heresy even. Instead of being in an Arwing the whole time, you're outside running around, whacking dinosaurs, talking to big Scottish rocks.
Ah, a lovely sweetie.
You're not up there with Falco, Peppy, and Slippy, blowing up ships with smart bombs, or soaring through the stone arches on Lake Carnaria to unlock secret passageways that lead to a hidden boss that unlocks an alternate route.
We're Star Fox.
Star Fox Adventures was a complete and utter loss of identity. Or was it? For those who don't know, Star Fox Adventures was originally going to be another game. The game in question was known as Dinosaur Planet. The plot, core gameplay, and style were the foundation for Star Fox Adventures. If Dinosaur Planet had been made, you would have taken control of a cat named Saber and a blue fox named Krystal. Together, they would have fought General Scales, the villain of Star Fox Adventures, and saved Dinosaur Planet. However, Dinosaur Planet had its plug pulled somewhere through development by Nintendo. Instead of being a new IP for the N64, it was repurposed into Star Fox Adventures that we know today. And I could go on and on about the background development of this game, but it's been done to death by creators who have probably done a better job explaining it to me, and between you and me, I don't really care. This game has lived in my mind rent-free for 21 years, and I have finally decided, wait a minute, 21 years. Time flies. So young, so full of life. Existential dread aside, I've decided to replay this game and find out if it simply is the loudest voices of a small minority who cry out on the internet proclaiming, Star Fox Adventures is a stinky. Or is Star Fox Adventures a charming game with a rocky development cycle that now stands as a unique game that merged both what once was with what now is? Or is my nostalgia tricking me? Please note, I played this game the honest to Miyamoto way, and I recorded the whole thing on my GameCube, so things look a little furry, shall we say? Our story starts off with the main character turned side character turned love interest, Krystal the Blue Fox, who is answering a distress call, and she has a little run-in with a large T-Rex mech ship. Starting off strong, are we? Krystal and her trusty pterodactyl must blow up these cannons and propellers to board the ship, and hey, this is like Star Fox. You got the zooming around, you got the inverted shooting scheme, the pterodactyl even controls like an Arwing minus the crosshairs. It's exactly what I'm looking for in the beginning of a Star Fox game. You board the ship and whoa, pause, enhance. My God. Now, I am in no way insinuating that Rare as a company are furries, but the evidence, well, it's damning. The beginning of this game is a beautiful start, except for one tiny little thing, the Dinosaur Planet dialogue.
Am den kutsuho kejvorik oi. Am edko kutsuho rozvejo evu tashkov suk.
I can't in good faith tell you that this is okay. I guess in the earlier game, this was not a thing and everyone spoke English. I don't know why they decided this needed to be added to the game, but it seems super out of place. Krystal has a run-in with the antagonist of the game, General Scales, who loves screaming his own name.
General Scales!
He tosses Krystal off the ship, but she is saved by her pterodactyl, and together they end up in the
Krazoa Palace!
Now, once I dug my teeth into the gameplay around Krazoa Palace, that's when it kind of hit me. This is a bit like Zelda. And that's okay. The movement in this game is exactly like Zelda. Both Krystal and later Fox sidestep like Link, carry things above their head like Link. You even feel the ever-compulsive need to roll while moving forward because it seems like it goes faster, but somewhere deep down inside you know that it doesn't really make you go that much faster. Hell, even when acquiring a new item or a key item, Fox stops and he does the Link thing where he holds it above his head and it goes din-din-din-din-din. I was surprised about how familiar the gameplay was, and don't get me wrong, that's not a bad thing. Far from it. I love Zelda. It just seems a little too familiar. After abusing some dinosaurs, Krystal finds out that the big baddie
General Scales!
has taken all the Krazoa spirits from Krazoa Palace and hid them away. The Krazoa spirits are these ancient aliens that protect Dinosaur Planet and keep it from ripping itself apart. More on that later. There are 6 Krazoa trials in the game, and they're all just mini puzzles or combat encounters. I think the trials should have had a bit more time in the oven since they mainly consist of a few halls followed by a subpar trial room. However, one of the earlier tests, the test of fear, was actually pretty fun. You have to keep your little bar inside the middle of the big bar or else Fox gets too scared and you're sent all the way back to the beginning of the trial. Other than that, the rest are akin to something straight out of Mario Party. What? Finishing this task allows the Krazoa Spear to possess Krystal, to which she delivers it back to its head shrine before being ambushed by a mysterious figure and thrown into a... Oh, you take one crystal and you put it in the other. It's pottery. It's beautiful. The scene transitions, and you get to see the Great Fox in all of its glory. Yeah, we got Slippy. Yeah, we got Peppy. We ain't got Falco, but we do be having Fox. The Starfox team is hanging out in the Great Fox when they get a distress call from General Peppers, who lets them know that a planet known as Dinosaur Planet is going to blow up or something. And that could be a problem for the whole Lylat system. So just like Starfox do, he jams out to some early 2000s butt rock and jumps into his Arwing and oh, hell yes! Aw yeah, time to engage. Let's go. Yeah, do a barrel roll. Oh, use the boost to get you through.
It did it, Fox! The force field is down!
Wait, but we just started. So as an homage to the traditional Star Fox, there are these segments in the game in which you travel between the chunks of the planet in orbit. Between each level is a course that you must gather a specific amount of gold rings in order to pass through to the next area. As much as I love these segments, they are incredibly short-lived. It really does genuinely feel like you are playing Star Fox for about a minute. And I feel like they were added in last second to remind players that, hey, this is a Star Fox game. Remember flying and rings and space? It's a real shame that the segments aren't more prevalent or at least longer. Even if you threw in a boss at the end, you could add a whole lot more to the experience. But alas, you are granted but a taste of the forbidden fruit, only to know desire that will never be fully satisfied. Fox then lands in Thorntail Hollow, where you must seek out the Queen Earthwalker and start his journey. Ah, Thorntail Hollow. The biggest piece of nostalgia for me, and dare I say most people. You show up here and those drums start playing, that flute, oh god, it just hits me so hard. Not only that, but then Thorntail Hollow 2-day theme starts playing. I don't care what your feelings about Starfox Adventures are. The one thing that matters is that this game's soundtrack is absolutely... You were left to explore around the hollow until you find Krystal's staff, and through Krystal's disembodied floating head, you learn how to use the staff and that Fox must use it to save Dinosaur Planet. As you progress, the staff naturally unlocks new spells, such as Fireball, and Ice Ball, and Grandma Slamma.
The cream of the crop!
You find all these upgrades and more in holes in the ground. You can choose your spells through the C menu on screen where all of your items, spells, and commands go. You can even hotkey the spells to the Y button to use them quickly.
But who cares about the magic staff, you exclaim? I want to hear about the combat.
Well, since you asked so nicely, and of course you're already subscribed to my channel, I'll give you a brief rundown of this game's combat since I find that there's value in talking about it. It's not very good. When Fox enters the vicinity of an enemy, the camera gets pulled in and locks onto that enemy. While you can run away and out of the battle area, it's just a little jarring to instantly be snapped to an enemy and suddenly whip out your staff. Combat mainly consists of smacking sharp claws around with your handy dandy A button, and if you hold another direction on the joystick while hitting the A button, you'll change up the combo. But alas, this is a purely cosmetic thing. Combat is a little goofy though. What makes me laugh is when you're surrounded by enemies, they wait while their friend is getting beat up and they do this little dino dance until their friend eventually just gets vaporized, and then the next one just slides right in.
Get him, Johnny. He's got nothing on you. Oh, dang. Guess I'm up next. You guys stay right here. I'll be right back.
With combat like that, you'd think that the boss battles would be pretty lame, huh? You'd be wrong. The boss battles are actually a delight. They differ for the most part because they all are kind of gimmicks. Some bosses are rail shooters, some bosses are racing mini-games, but all of them are pretty fun. Except for the first boss, Galdon. My game crashed halfway through fighting him and I didn't save, so I spent 45 minutes getting back to him.
Hey kids, it's your dad. Now, I don't care if you do drugs. I don't care if you steal alcohol from your old man's cabinet. But for the love of God, save your game. Frequently. Please. Please! For me. For your old poppy.
After receiving Krystal's staff and beating some sharp claws, Fox meets with Queen Earthwalker and is sent to Ice Mountain to save her son, Prince Treeky. You engage in an honestly very fun minigame where you wedge yourself in a hole and blow up sharp claws. Reaching the end, Fox is flung off a cliff, only to meet your new forever buddy, Treeky, who somehow managed to get to the bottom of the mountain without a jet engine snowmobile, but who has time to ask questions, huh? Now, from what I read online, people don't really like Treeky that much.
A bad guy. I'm hungry.
Look at this.
Where are we going?
This.
Hiya, fella.
Treeky follows Fox around and is a pretty useful boy, as he is able to perform a handful of commands to help Fox along his journey, provided you have the grub tubs to fuel his abilities. Grub tubs are tiny sentient mushrooms that you whack over the head, daze, and stuff into a bag, only to feed it to your dinosaur friend. He's not a chore like some other partners in games, and he's a welcomed addition to the Starfox team. Fox and Treeky enter the Snowhorn Wastes where you meet the Snowhorns, giant mammoths, who love carrots.
That's better!
Soon you meet a mammoth who's been trapped in ice by the sharp claws. Turns out this mammoth is a gatekeeper, who explains that Dinosaur Planet itself is in a constant state of being ripped apart. Only the Spellstones, created by Krazoa spirits, can keep the planet in check. But wouldn't you know it, Mr. Big Mean
General Scales!
has taken them from their temples, and the planet is now falling apart. Gatekeepers hold a special magical power that cause people to develop hatred towards certain fandoms, but also allow Fox to fly to each of the chunks floating in space. Throughout the game, you have to find these gatekeepers, fly to dungeons, and recover spellstones. Enter this game's formula. Fox goes to an area of Dinosaur Planet, rescues a gatekeeper through some sort of subquest, zip up in your Arwing, do the Starfox segment, go into the dungeon, defeat the boss, grab the Spellstone, return to the Dinosaur Planet, and drop the Spellstone into a temple. Go get a Krazoa spirit, and finally return the Krazoa spirit back to the Great Krazoa Temple, and rinse and repeat about 4 times.
Repetitive, isn't it? Well, you're wrong, dum-dum. This game's areas are so beautiful you don't even know. You don't even know.
Every new area in this game is just so beautiful. At the beginning of the game, I went the wrong way and I entered into this beautiful autumnal forest, and I actually stopped and went,
Hey, they got forests in this game.
The first area, Snowhorn Waste, has this nostalgia factor going for it since it's the only level I remember as a kid, but it gives off that snowy, wintry feel with the light snow falling, the Arctic skies, and the mammoths. Cape Claw is a tropical beach with crystal clear waters in which you save a big brachiosaurus who's trapped in this wooden scaffolding and can't get out unless you give him gold. It's actually just really strange. Moonstone Pass is like this beautiful alien world that has like barrels, lots of barrels. The walled city is a Mayan temple where you genocide T-Rexes. The environments are just so different and add enough variance to make the back and forth worth it. As far as the dungeons go, they're all different and the puzzles are unique. Dark Ice Mines has this absolutely beautiful ice cavern that has a puzzle that took me way too long to figure out. Cloud Runner Temple has a great stealth segment where you get imprisoned and you have to escape while disguised as a sharp claw. There is a story portion where you get captured by the Lightfoot tribe and have to perform a feat of strength, which is literally just mashing the A button until this man falls into a hole. Even the boss battle versus King Red-Eye in the walled city had my imagination running wild with the fact that you fight him in a giant secret underground sacrificial chamber. It's the best boss fight in the game, by the way. Any King Red-Eye chads out there?
Starfox definitely gets a pass in the variety of content in this game, like the mini games, for example, the Egg Snatcher game or the on-rail shooter on Dragon Rock. Both games are fun, but the Egg Snatcher mini game seems more like an earlier build of Dinosaur Planet, whereas the on-rail shooter segment where you're on a dinosaur's back shooting fireballs at missiles is more reminiscent of Star Fox.
However, while some points are repetitive and fun, some parts are slow and tedious. For example, there is a section in the game where you use an item called the Dino Horn, which summons a mammoth. I'll let it slide for now. But you know what I won't let slide? The fact that all the mammoth does is walk through a snowstorm at an extremely slow pace. Oh, I guess you collect some carrots to make it so he doesn't stop moving. Oh, I guess that's fun. Some portions of the game just feel a little asinine. Take Ocean Force Point Temple. The goal of these, the Volcano and Ocean Force Point Temples, are to run in, go through some puzzles, drop off the Spellstone. However, whoever created some of these puzzles need to go back to school. I'm having none of this shoot the fireball, change the color, hit the right switch, dump the water on the torch before the small timer goes off. Sorry, the puzzle took me like 20 minutes to finish. I was angry and I reviewed the footage and I'm still angry. Moving on. As Fox and Treeky work together through the various areas, they are recruited by this giant Krazoa spirit. The giant spirit, who I now deem Mongo, asks them to reunite all the other spirits in the Great Temple to save Dinosaur Planet. Your quest brings you to the frosted lands of Snowhorn, the emerald coasts of Cape Claw, the mires of Lightfoot Village. I could go on, but I won't. Once all the stones are placed back in the respective slots in the temples, and all of the Krazoa spirits are brought home, one final test remains. To defeat the great and terrible, you guessed it, here it comes,
Finally, the climactic end to the game, where Dinosaur Planet's story ends, and Star Fox gets shoehorned in. Let me explain.
Fox gets to the final trial, and is ready to beat down our hero. As the fight is about to commence, this is where the best and worst thing happens in this game.
Now you must face me.
Nope, I did not edit that in. He makes the same noise every other dinosaur makes when they're going in to fight you.
Scales is full on ready to attack when suddenly a voice calls out, demanding that Scales gives the last Krazoa spirit to Fox. The general complies, and actually factually dies.
I feel like Miyamoto threw his calling card into my face, like Pocket Sand, threw back his sash, and said, "You're welcome for this Star Fox game. Don't build up your villain, have him imprison you halfway through the game, only to rug pull him at the last second. It's just disappointing." But maybe it's not.
With the last Krazoa spirit in hand, Fox releases Krystal, only to find the great Krazoa spirit god that made you go through all of the Mario Party games was evil. It blasts off into space, and Fox soon follows him. This is where you find out that the great Krazoa spirit is none other than the galactic space wizard himself, Andross.
20 years. 20 years this game has been out. And I had no clue that Andross was in this game. I mean, most Nintendo games do have a reoccurring villain. The signs were all there.
Bowser, Andross. Ganondorf, Andross.
General Scales!
Andross!
When his big doofy head turned around, I audibly said,
"Oh, they got Andross in this game."
The Andross fight is A, actually hard, and B, a lot like the Andross fight in Star Fox 64. It turns out Androssi was behind the whole plot and used Krystal's powers along with the Krazoa to revive his physical form. You go through the fight like a true-to-heart Star Fox battle, and when you think it's over and you're about to lose,
Personally, I prefer the air.
Falco shows up, drops some bombs down, gonna guzzle those bad boys right into Androni's mouth, shoot up his brain. But alas, short-lived, much like the Starfox segments. It's like if this game had stuck with just being Dinosaur Planet, it would have been fine. But once they decided that it needed to be a Starfox game, they started adding in all this little pieces of lore that just mildly fit the narrative. The game ties up with Falco returning to Starfox without any reason as to why he left, Fox getting the girl, and the horrible genie man that runs the shop getting arrested for fraud.
I'll keep what you didn't collect.
Do I wish Starfox Adventures was released as Dinosaur Planet? Maybe. Does it live up to my nostalgia? I actually think so. Do I like Starfox Adventures? It was pretty mid.